Maybe I'll bring the computer closer.
Welcome to another episode of Added Perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
I'm Coach Nrgy.
I'm Aphrodite.
And I'm Emmanuel.
All right. So this week we're gonna talk about some relationship gaslighting. This week, you know, it's a therapeutic term. Most people see it as like just being manipulative. You know, somebody's like trying to, you know, get you to do something or convince you to do something that may not be right for you, but they make it sound like it's right for you. They make it sound like it's your idea per se. And that's so wrong on so many levels, like it is. But the thing about that though is most times from, I guess, a gaslighting situation, most people don't know what that is. Like, to be fair, to even recognize if that is something that's actually being done to them. So I'm gonna start this off. I'm gonna read the definition of it because, you know, it's, you know, very wonderful to read that off. So example of gaslighting is if someone says, you know, I do this, you know why I do this because I love you, or you should believe me, or this is the best thing for you, then maybe you're getting gaslighted because they're telling you these things that may be perceived in your best interest. But if you actually think about it, these days may not be in your best interest. Like, they're just telling you that they're trying to convince you that things are in your best interest. Like, these are the things that are your idea. May not be your idea. So when, let me read the rest of it. So it says, when doing something you perceive as abuse, controlling, or wrong, they are probably gaslighting. So when it comes to gaslighting in a relationship and stuff like that, I think that most people, like I said earlier, don't know how to recognize it, like when it's being done to them. And I think that that's kind of why some people kind of tend to kind of just go along with certain things because there's a lot of confusion in that. Like, there's a lot of misconceptions with that. And to a point, if you're with a person for so long, it's like, it almost seems like normal practice. Like, it almost seems like, okay, this is the norm. And in the grand scheme of things, that's not the norm. You just confused. Like, you're just confused about what's going on. So when it comes to like the relationships, from a relationship standpoint, do you think that, you know, it's just awareness when it comes to that I guess therapeutic term that causes people to like struggle with that? What you think? Maybe? Kind of?
So my question is, to me, it's just plain on manipulation.
Yeah. The gaslighting part is just the therapeutic term. That's all it is.
Oh, because, yeah. That's a big question.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and some people are gold star winners at it too, you know what I'm saying? Seriously. Some people do that for a living. And
I think people that may struggle with that may be extremely vulnerable at that time, or alone, or maybe potentially lacking confidence or self-fulfillment, and they may be seeking that from the gaslighter, you know, and then as the gaslighter assures them of these things that may not be for their better good, they want to believe it so bad. They want to fill a void, or they may want to fill a void with this person so bad that they subject themselves to the gaslighting. That's kind of my thought process on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think from a, you know, people gaslighting standpoint, I don't think anybody like looks for it or like really subjects themselves to it. Most times it's the individual doing it to you, you know, like that person telling you certain things or suggesting certain things to you and it's almost like they make it sound good. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though what they doing is abusing your emotions per se. like seriously.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You might be giving a gaslighter too much authority. Okay.
but think about it though, man. Like, think about it from this way. I told you earlier, the people that actually do that, they gold star Olympic. They people that do this stuff like for a living. Yeah, they people that do this stuff for a living, so it's different.
Could you be gaslighted?
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I couldn't hear myself in my mic.
Oh, okay. I guess my question for you is, could you be gaslighted?
I think anybody has the potential to be like gaslighted.
I don't agree. Nrgy.
I mean,
So I'll answer that question of saying, prior to these most recent years, I was. So I've been I've felt it. I've been on the receiving end of it. I know how it feels. It makes you feel crazy. It is mostly on the person who's the gaslighter. Like Josh was saying, it really is them being so committed and they're so good at it to where it makes you question yourself, to where it's not necessarily you looking for acceptance or whatever in this other person. It's that they start really turning yourself against yourself. They turn you against you over time if you allow it. I didn't realize I never even knew the term back then when it was happening. For me, this term really only became more common of hearing it within the past 5+, maybe between 5 to 8-ish or so years. It's becoming more and more popular. And when it first came out, I was like, what is that? And then I had to research and I was like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, well, yeah, I've been through there or been through that. But I will say, to answer your question as well, today, now, can I be gaslighted? No, because I know what to look for. I know the signs. And most importantly, I trust me. I trust my gut. I trust my instinct, and I trust my intuition. That's where it all goes wrong. When people are on the receiving end of a successful gaslighter, it's because they don't trust themselves. So I'll pause there.
Yeah. You could have paused, you could have kept going. That was good.
That was good stuff. Good content.
This is scary. This stuff is so scary because it can, if a person is around it and in a relationship so long to where they're being affected by a gaslighter, it really does mess with their perception of reality. It makes them question their own decisions, their thoughts, who they are as a person, their morals, their beliefs. It makes them question everything to where it's like it turns them into this robotic or what term do I want to use? Conscious thinking being. It's scary. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You're right. It is. Like, goes back to this first thing I was reading. Like, if a person tells you, I only do this because I love you.
Nice.
I'm telling you, when you in a relationship with somebody and your feelings involved, and somebody tell you, hey, and then with a straight face and everything, holding your hand, like
yes.
real Eric Benet moment, right? Like the music played in the background, they say, hey, I only do this because I love you. You gonna be like, okay. I'm telling.
Hey, this is not my way to love. I don't love like this. Okay.
Relationship, that's nothing but pure manipulation, foolishness that people try. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you cannot be manipulated because that's not the truth. But just like Nrgy said, you have to know who you are. You know what I'm saying? You really do. You have to know who you are. And yeah, that don't always work for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It don't always work. It don't always work for everybody. But I mean, that scenario's old as time, man. Like that, use those same lines.
I know, because I heard it, like, for real, I wasn't real familiar with gaslighting. But the crazy part is I was having a conversation with somebody. I was like, that's manipulation. And we was talking about manipulation, but now that we're talking about gaslighting, I'm like, I'm about to have another conversation with
her. And that's why this topic is so important, because a lot of times you may or may not know that that's happening. Mm-hmm. Like you may not, and then you have to figure out when you do realize what's happening. What do you do? Because you got to have some type of solution for that too. Because obviously you're not gonna change the person per se, and then that just kind of goes into that whole, people that are narcissists. Have anybody ever heard of a narcissist?
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of a narcissist. Okay.
Yeah.
So combine a narcissist with gaslighting. Think about it. Like combine both of those, it's like it is, because it's so much more intense. Like it is. Because it's one thing just gaslight somebody and then that's it, and you're not a narcissist. But if you're a narcissist and you gaslighting people at the same time, like you abusing that person.
Yeah, you're a beast.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it is.
Yep.
Man.
It is beast.
Yeah, it is.
And it takes the other person to recognize it. Preferably, hopefully they recognize at some point that it is happening and that it is abuse. And they have to make up in their mind, like, what are they going to do? Are they going to continue to accept it? Are they going to leave? Or, what's going to happen? Because, I haven't been there before, but I'm sure, like, it messes with the mental, and hopefully it doesn't turn physical, but can you imagine, like, going through that on a consistent basis for a very long time? It could be difficult.
Yeah, it has the tendency to erode decision making.
Yes.
So that means that in your mind, you're telling yourself, hey, I need to leave this situation. And it's your internal dialogue that you're telling yourself that. But you're still in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Like you have not left the situation. But you tell yourself that you have to leave the situation. And that's what happens. Like it affects action being taken. Like it at that point, what the right thing is to do, but you don't do it.
Is it because they lack the confidence of making that move to?
No, I mean at that point, and this is just hypothetical. At that point, being with someone for that long, depending on if that person's gaslighting you or is a narcissist that is also gaslighting you, being around that, your whole mindset is confused at that point.
It's like a brainwashing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think it's something you've got to catch early, based upon what I'm hearing tonight. I'm not a pro on gaslighting. This is a new term to me as well. But I can see its effectiveness, once, you've got a person that's invested themselves in the gaslighter. I can see that being very effective. And I feel like a way to avoid it, as Nrgy stated, is to trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust your gut. Know what you will and won't stand for. Know what you will and won't accept. And I think at the beginning of any relationship, that would help minimize the chance of being gaslighted. Because once that person starts doing things that might not necessarily align with who you are or what you stand for, then you can make the decision to walk away before you're over invested. Because I think once those feelings get involved, or commitments are made, then you have to consider those before just saying, all right, this isn't for me. And then that's when it never ends and it kind of becomes an even bigger situation.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Once, like you said, once you're a little bit deeper into that relationship, more time has passed, more investments have been made, it makes it a lot more difficult to separate an innocent situation from your partner versus is it gaslitten or gaslighted? However you use the other conjugation of what they may do, because they can look very similar. They can do something that's so innocent on one hand and one day, and it's like, okay, this is great, I appreciate it, whatever. But then on the other hand, they can do that exact same thing, but then have ill motives behind it. And you're like, well, I mean, it looks very similar to this. So then, yeah, I trust what they're saying now on this end. It's confusing as crap. It's crazy, man.
She is correct. It is. That's why it makes it very difficult to escape a situation like that. Like, it does make it very difficult. And sometimes the more confident you think you are, the more susceptible you might be. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, to be very fair, because I mean, it's just like those people that play 3-card money. You know what 3-card money is? You get 3 cards, and you shuffle them up like this, and you try to find the queen and stuff like that. Most confident people walk up to the table and be like, oh, I know that queen that, and stuff like that, and boom, you get hustled. You lose all your money. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Gaslighting is that same principle. I'm telling you. You walk up to that table, be like, oh, I love this person. I think they're a genuine person. They kind, sweet, or whatever. And this is what they present you with. Okay. This is the presentation piece. This is the picture, right? And as you get to know that person, they still giving you that kind, sweet vibe and everything like that. But the thing about that, though, is that when you get in your feelings about a person and they present you with this grand picture and stuff like that, you kind of lose that perception of what they're actually saying to you, like what they're actually putting in your head, like what they actually are saying. And then that's when they got you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when you know that, okay, you done fell in too deep. And it's like, just keep following. Like that's what it is. You just keep going.
So would you say these people come into the relationship with malice, with malicious intent?
It depends on if that person is, I mean, again, classified as a narcissist. Yes, they come in there with their own rules of engagement. They do. They come in there with their own set of rules. But if they're just people that are just gaslighting you and stuff like that, they may not come in with, I guess, predetermined set of rules, but they tend to just kind of lean on doing that per se.
So
it's them, yeah.
So do they prey on people who they think they can do that to? Like, do they tend to only go towards the people who they feel like they can gaslight?
Because, go ahead. I'm just saying, based off of what I'm hearing, one, it's going to take a while for someone to be in a position where they're susceptible to being gaslighted, which means the relationship would have had to have developed, right? You're not going to first meet somebody, or generally, you may not first meet someone and then they have this control over you, where you aren't necessarily thinking how you would want to think. I don't think so. That's not a step one of a relationship. So then that leads me to believe that based on what you're saying as well, this person is doing the right things. They're saying the right things. So is this a really genuine person, or is this someone who did come into the relationship with maybe it's a psychological thing? Who knows? Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's not intentional, and then that's a bigger discussion there. But that would make things make more sense if it's psychological and this person really just can't help but do it. But other than that, it would seem to me like it's a malicious type behavior.
Yeah, I mean, most times it turns into a malicious type behavior. Like it and it's two different ways, okay? Because like I was telling you, that it's the narcissist thing, and then people that just gaslight people. So you can put that in two different categories right there. Because when you look at one version of that, like that's just a personality trait, which is being a narcissist. Personality trait, right? So if that person is that particular personality trait, and then they also tend to gaslight people as well, then it's like you already know that situation may not go the way that you would like. Like it may turn into something bigger when it comes to like the whole gaslighting. But if you're talking about this specific manipulation, just strictly just gaslighting somebody, like that kind of stuff, it occurs over time. So that means that if you're with somebody and you start talking to that person or whatever, first 6 months, year or whatever, and it slowly starts happening to you, okay? Like little conversations here, little conversations there. Phrases are being used that sound similar, right? But it always happens after an action. You know what I'm saying? Like after something is actually done or about to be done. Like that's, you remember the first phrase that I said, I only do these things because I love you? Or believe me, this is the best decision for us. This is the best decision for us and stuff like that, when this decision may not be the best decision for us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like after hearing that so many times, you almost pre-program yourself for that delivery, you know? Like, so that means that anybody could be susceptible to that. Like it doesn't matter where you're at mentally or whatever, because we're all human. Like we are, like you can't even get the human element here, right? Like anybody could be susceptible to that. Like there's not a shot for that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna go get a vaccine for that. Like no gaslighting.
Oh my God.
Man, like,
that is hilarious.
I can't agree with that. I can't understand how it can happen. I can't say anyone can be gaslit. I just can't personally, you know, I believe you, unless you're being held against your will, you know, if you have will, there's always that chance that you could just walk away from it. Yeah, maybe some people don't want to incur the damage that may come with that. And they decide to, you know, persist through, but I don't believe that it's unavoidable. I guess that's my belief. I just can't not say that. Okay. I don't believe it's unavoidable.
I agree. Yeah, I 100% agree that there are some people who are walking this earth who are wise enough and confident enough. I have to kind of go against and push back on the term that you said earlier, Josh, when you were talking about the, card trick. Confidence in self and confidence in your beliefs, your morals, your values, confidence in knowing that you saw what you saw and this person's trying to tell you, nah, you didn't see what you just saw. Confidence can help you not be gaslighted. So I agree, Emmanuel, that there are some people who just won't fall into it.
Josh don't agree.
I don't agree. What do you want to say here?
We don't agree.
I mean, everybody's human, man. Like it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard.
It's not magic.
It's not relatively magic or anything like that. But the people that do tend to do these things, they aren't rookies either. They vet. You know what I'm saying? Like they not people that just, let me just pick this up. They people that's been doing this kind of stuff for years.
So that's what I'm saying, Josh. So my thing is, since they're vets and they've been doing this for years, they pretty much know who to try with. That's my way of thinking.
Yeah.
Like they know well, certain people just not gonna fall for that.
Yeah, but I'm gonna throw a curveball at you, right? Like, I want to hit you with this, right? So think about those people that are in long-term relationships and marriage and stuff like that, right? And all the things that come along with marriage, like kids, houses, businesses, things of that nature, right? And that same person that person may be with says, hey, well, we get all these things together and stuff like that, and the relationship might not be in the best place and stuff, right? So it'd be like, oh, we got all these things together, so we can't separate, or we can't do this because of this reason, or whatever the case may be. And every time that situation comes up, that same reason comes up. You know what I'm saying? That's a form of manipulation too.
It is manipulation.
Because they say that, hey, the reason why we can't do X, or the reason why we can't do Y is because of Z, which is all these things around the relationship, or whatever the case may be. But that's what I'm saying. Most people don't consider that, right? That's a form of actual gaslighting too. It's just packaged in a different way. It just looks different. You know what I'm saying? That's a form of manipulation too. When a person uses something against you to alter your decision, you know what I'm saying? They tell you stuff that they know may touch a button on you, right? They may touch a feeling on you or something like that when they say that. What do you think they're doing to you? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and so what you're saying is correct. However, what we're saying is also correct, a person can try to use all these things, tactics, words, children, the kids, pull on these heartstrings or whatever in order to, create a gaslighted situation, lit situation. However, the other person on the other end can still not fall for it. They can still give pushback. To me, that's one of the examples of when you see or hear about relationships where there's conflict, like one person is trying their best to gaslight the other person, but the other person is not having it. And so they're constantly going back and forth, especially if the person who's on the receiving end of it is just not having it and they're not falling for it. And they're like, nah, I know I saw what I saw. It kind of brings to mind that Kevin Hart joke when he was talking about, he said, I know she saw me see her, something like that. I saw her see me see her, or she saw me see her, something like that. Yeah. When he was talking about his girl or his wife was in the trunk of the car and she just totally denied it, So, there are some situations where people will just, constantly try to tell you, no, you didn't see what you actually did see. Like they saw it with you. Yeah. But then the other person on the receiving end can literally stand their ground and say, nah, like I'm not crazy, and you're not going to try to paint me out to be somebody who's crazy. I know what I saw, or I know what I heard, or I know what you did, whatever, and they can push back on it. So I say both of those situations can exist at the same time. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, when you get to that point, though, when there is pushback, though, because initially, right? Think about it initially. Like when you first enter that particular situation, there is less pushback, or there may kind of sort of be less pushback in the beginning, because you want to give the person more of the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, right? So when is the pushback, like at what stage do you think the pushback comes in, though? Like the real pushback? Like is it like further towards the end when you know for a fact that this person is actually doing that? Or it's just whenever your intuition just kind of kicks in, I guess. I mean, 'cause, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, I would say the pushback happens when losing whatever is at risk is less painful than dealing with the gaslighting. Okay. I think that's when you draw that line. Okay. It's like, all right, cool. I've been trying to fight through this for whatever it is that is being hung over my head, because it probably is some legitimacy behind whatever it is. I've been trying to fight through this for that. However, this is now too much of a burden or a pain for me to deal with. And if it means that I have to lose those things, or I have to struggle with those things, or I have to figure it out in order for me to be personally okay or free, then I'm going to take that route, and I'm not dealing with this anymore, right? And I think whenever a person gets to that point where they decide it is worth losing whatever's being hung over their head, that's when they kind of stand their ground. That's when they say, all right, that's in my mind, that's when you would draw that line and say, all right, enough is enough.
Boom. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
When a person gets to a point or a decision in life or a point in the relationship where they say, you know what, enough, like I'm good. Now I have to start really, putting my foot down or whatever.
Yeah. Y'all encouraging me to do a part 2 of it.
Let's do it.
You know that again. All right, because it is such a good conversation. Like it is. It's such a great conversation.
I think I really honestly believe you need to put your foot down at the beginning when you recognize it.
That's my thing. That's my thing.
When you first recognize it needs to stop right then. Not I'm at my point on my wit's end. No, you need to recognize it. You need to address it, and you need to know then if this continues, what route you would take. Right then.
I agree.
100,000%. That's my approach. And nobody will I don't think you need to wait until, especially dealing with a narcissist. So you gonna wait till you at your wit's end with a narcissist? No. You'll be crazy. Dealing with a narcissist? No. Put your foot down right then. The moment you recognize it.
I agree. Well, like you said, most people tend to kind of give it some time, but I completely agree. That's how I am now myself. I can speak personally. As soon as I see it, because for me, I learn about that of a person, like in that getting to know a person phase, during those stages, that's when you're supposed to really, that's when you can really start seeing a person's ways or, the way that they handle situations, the way that they try to either, pull the wool over your eyes or whatever the case may be. During that getting to know a person phase, you start seeing the signs. It's kind of also saying, pay attention to those signs. Pay attention to the signs when you see them the first time, as opposed to giving so many concessions for a person or, just saying, oh, okay, well, I'll let that slide. Ooh.
Oh, they get to no stage, don't let it slide. If it ain't for you, move.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
100%. 100%.
What part 2? Okay, part 2.
Let's do it.
Part 2. All right, so another episode of Added Perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
Now I'm Coach Nrgy.
I'm Aphrodite.
And I'm Emmanuel.
Yeah.